A Metro Atlanta mother lies brain dead in a hospital room, being kept alive only because she's pregnant.
Literal Handmaid's Tale shit.
Hey beautiful people, how you all doing today? It's your girl Destiny here and welcome to my channel. How have you all been? Hope you guys are doing great. So today's video is the viral situation event that's gotten people talking of the black woman that has been in a hospital brain dead for 90 days and she's been kept alive by incubator because she was 9 weeks pregnant when she died. And apparently there's a law in the state of Georgia that has warranted the state to keep her body alive to incubate this baby that is still not even sure if this baby is going to make it alive, and even if this baby makes it alive out of her body, is that this baby might not even be healthy. This baby might probably come out disabled and all with all form of health defects. But yet the state of Georgia is still insisting on keeping this woman for more months so that she can have this baby. And for me, this does not make sense. If you haven't heard the story, we're going to break it down so you get insight of it. But this has struck entire conversation, people reacting to this, of how this Roe v. law, of how this abortion law does not work, because it doesn't make sense for you to keep somebody that is medically dead alive just so that you don't kill a 9 weeks fetus. If you know what a 9 weeks fetus is, it's almost like nothing. 9 weeks. So this has really struck entire conversation everywhere and everybody's talking about this. So let's go check out the news breaking down this story, people's response to it, and then we'll come back and talk more.
Metro Atlanta mother lies brain dead in a hospital room, being kept alive only because she's pregnant.
So her case is now raising a lot of new questions about Georgia's controversial heartbeat law. Adriana Smith's family says they've been forced to wait without a voice while doctors try to keep her body functioning long enough to deliver her baby.
11 Alive's Cody Alcorn is live outside of Emory Midtown, where Adriana was just moved hours ago. Cody, what have you learned about what's going on here?
It's just crazy.
Well, Jennifer and Ron, Adriana has been on a ventilator for the past 90 days. Now, as you mentioned, she was moved here just hours ago so doctors can deliver her baby when it is time. Her family visits her every day, including her young son, who believes his mom is just sleeping. A crushing, emotional toll, as you can imagine. The family says it's been made worse because they have no say on what happens next. 30-year-old Adriana Smith was about 9 weeks pregnant when she started having bad headaches in February.
Enough to know that something was wrong.
April Newkirk says her daughter went to Northside Hospital for help.
They gave her some medication, but they didn't do any tests. They didn't do any CT scans. If they did, they would have caught it.
The next morning, Adriana's boyfriend noticed something was terribly wrong.
She was gasping for air in her sleep, gargling. More than likely it was blood. She was taken to Emory, Decatur, and then she was transferred here.
To Emory University Hospital, where Adriana worked as an RN. Unfortunately, there was nothing doctors could do.
They did a CT scan and she had blood clots all in her head. So they had asked me if they could do a procedure to relieve them, and I said yes. And then they called me back and they said that they couldn't do it.
Doctors declared Adriana brain.
I feel as if somebody dropped the ball at the hospitals, and her boyfriend asked, please keep her. If she was kept at the hospital, we wouldn't be here.
Because of Georgia's heartbeat bill, which bans abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected, her family says they weren't given any say in what happens next.
It's torture for me. I come here and I see my daughter breathing by the ventilator, but she's not there. And I'm touching her. And she has a son who I bring to see her.
Now, 21 weeks pregnant, her baby's health uncertain.
She's pregnant with my grandson, but my grandson may be blind, may not be able to walk, wheelchair bound. We don't know if he'll live once she has him.
A situation she says no one should be forced into.
It should have been left up to the family, because I'm in my 50s. Her dad is in his 50s, so we're going to have the responsibility with her partner to raise her sons, you know? And I'm not saying that we would have chose to her pregnancy. What I'm saying is we should have had a choice. We should have had a choice.
It's likely doctors will not induce Adriana for at least another month. And it's not just the baby's health the family is worried about, also a medical bill. They say that continues to grow every day.
All right, Cody, thank you so much. We know you'll continue to follow this story.
The family have to
for
pay the
us.
hospital
And
bill.
right now, under Georgia law, once a fetal heartbeat is detected, abortion is illegal, even in cases like Adriana's. In most states, decisions would defer to the mother or the next of kin, especially if the baby is unlikely to survive. But because Adriana is brain and no longer technically at risk herself, the law requires doctors to keep her alive until the baby can survive on its own. A Metro Atlanta mother lies in a hospital room, being kept alive only because she's pregnant.
Literal Handmaid's Tale shit. I'm not kidding. Season 3, episode 9. The episode
I
is
need to
named
watch that show
Heroic. A handmaid ends up pregnant, and she is kept alive in order to exist as an incubator for the fetus she's carrying. The episode is essentially a horror movie. It's probably one of the most devastating ones. And make no mistake, it was not an accident that the handmaid who was used to perfectly exemplify the usage of a human body as chattel in order to serve the desires of the state was a black woman. It's almost as if they knew. Adriana Smith is completely brain dead, but she's being kept alive against her family's wishes and without her consent simply because she's pregnant. Mind you, she's been on life support and essentially functioning as an incubator for over 3 months, which is longer than she was pregnant before this. She wasn't even 9 weeks along when this happened. But because of Georgia's abortion ban after around 6 weeks, except in certain cases, which as we know are still often ignored, she is now an incubator for the state. Well, sort of, because despite having no choice in the matter, her family is not only going to be raising the fetus if it survives, but they're also on the hook for all the hospital bills.
That's
Despite the fact
crazy.
that the fetus has fluid in the brain, which can lead to serious health issues and may even result in the inability to survive outside the womb. You understand that someone who has actually passed away has to give prior consent for their organs to be used, right? So I guess this confirms what we always knew. A corpse has more rights than an unconscious woman in a red state.
It's an experiment. The brain dead pregnant black woman in Georgia is an experiment. They are experimenting on her a la Henrietta Lacks, okay? They are wanting to see if they can incubate babies via women who are unconscious or brain dead. If they can use us as human incubators. And they're using a black woman to do it first. Hope this helps.
Please tell me a world where it makes sense that a 30-year-old black woman in the state of Georgia who has for over 90 days has been kept on life support simply because at the time of her being declared brain she was 9 weeks pregnant. And because Georgia has such strict abortion laws that makes it a crime to terminate pregnancy after 6 weeks, these doctors, their hands are tied and they literally cannot terminate the pregnancy despite the fact that this woman is brain dead. But before I even talk about how this is unethical and immoral, let's talk about the fact that her even being brain dead is a result of medical negligence and, dare I say, racism. Because over 90 days ago, back in February, Adriana Smith actually went to the hospital for strong headaches and migraines. And surprise, surprise, they didn't run any tests, they didn't do a CT scan. All they did was give her medication for her headaches. Had they run a scan, they would have realized she had blood clots on her brain. But what's new? We already know there is very little protection for black maternal health. Even outside of pregnancy, we know that people just don't believe black women. But what's actually pissing me off about this story even more is the fact that her family does not want her to be on life support. And despite her mother's wishes, because politicians have wielded their power over all of our bodies, her daughter has now become an incubator for a fetus that cannot live outside of her body by itself. In fact, in Georgia, a fetus can't live outside of the body until 32 weeks. So you know what that means? They're going to keep this girl on life support from 9 weeks to 32 weeks and then will induce her. They're going to induce labor on a unconscious woman. And there's more. Not only does the family not have any decision-making power, they're also incurring the medical costs, the bills. On top of the fact that they have already proven via ultrasound that this fetus has fluid on its brain, meaning not only is there a chance of low survival, there is a chance of serious defect and disability. So there's a clear disregard for the grieving family, a clear disregard for the unconscious and brain dead mother, and a clear disregard for the fetus, but y'all claim to be pro-life. Baby, no. Come a little closer. You're pro-birth. And as a black woman who is currently 27 weeks pregnant, I am disgusted. This whole story is just disgusting.
It doesn't surprise me that Georgia is trying to make an example out of a black woman when it comes to their laws. 30-year-old Adriana Smith's body is being used as an incubator. She is on life support. So Adriana was prescribed medication because she was experiencing headaches, and she was also experiencing fatigue and breathing trouble. This led to her getting medication, which did not help, as confirmed by the family. She was then hospitalized, and she later on passed away due to a blood clot. However, the hospital was holding her body because they discovered that she was 9 weeks pregnant. And unfortunately, she's in Georgia, and Georgia has a heartbeat bill law that will not permit an abortion if you're 6 weeks or more along in pregnancy. The family has no say. They've tried. They have no say in this matter because of the law that Brian Kemp put in place. They will not take her off life support, and they are going to allow her baby to go into full term. Now, mind you, this is a double tragedy for the family because there's no guarantee that this baby will be in a healthy state. More than likely, the baby may be disabled when it is born, facing maybe either blindness, or it could be a vegetable. It may have some mental disabilities or incapabilities, or the baby may just not make it. And essentially, this is just Georgia's way of trying to make an example out of a black woman and utilizing her body as an incubator to further push how serious they are about the abortion laws in Georgia. That if it doesn't fall under certain guidelines, they are not going to honor it no matter what the circumstances are, even if it means they have to keep a body on life support. Not to mention, the hospital is probably getting buku dollars off keeping her body on life support for so long.
The people who hit Anne Frank were breaking the law. So at what point does this hospital in Georgia break the law? Like, this is the hospital that is keeping Adriana Smith, the black woman who is brain dead and being kept alive to incubate a fetus against her family's wishes. Like, at what point does the hospital say this is morally and ethically wrong and we refuse to do it? I know the law says they have to, but we all know that, like, there are laws that deserve to be broken. And, like, is this not moral injury to this woman and her legacy, and her dignity, and to her family, because this is against their wishes, and to every single hospital staff person who is having to inflict this moral injury on this woman and her family? I realize that there are repercussions for a hospital breaking the law, but, like, if the law is deeply wrong, then, like, do it. Let that woman's family take her off life support. Let them grieve. Let her have dignity in death, because she sure doesn't have it right now in life, and you can't even call it life. It's being artificially kept alive, and, like, it's not like it's the body breaks down. Like, I know that there's a case to be made that hospitals are struggling and that this type of litigation would close the hospital. That's entirely possible. I don't know anything about this hospital, but what I do know is that it is deeply morally and ethically wrong, and the harm that is being inflicted has to, at some point, be addressed. And the only way I can see that to address it is to stop doing the harm. I'm not a lawyer or anything like that. I'm just a person. And I think that most people looking at this who aren't psychopaths can say this is wrong. There have to be people at the hospital who are undergoing serious trauma, having to inflict this harm, like moral injury, essentially. Like, if people can withhold people's health care for religious grounds, withhold it for the sake of humanity, for the sake of your moral and ethical grounds.
I'm speaking today as a nurse, a legal consultant, and most importantly, a black woman with a voice in healthcare and the law. And let me tell you something. In all of my years of working on critical cases, I have never encountered anything like this. Adriana Smith, 30 years old, a nurse, a mother, declared after suffering a catastrophic medical emergency. In our field, that's not a coma, that's legal. Brain, no cerebral activity, no recovery. But because Adriana was just 9 weeks pregnant at the time, she's still on life support. Not for her, but for the fetus for 90 plus days. And her family, her mother, her partner, her young son, who thinks she's asleep, they've been told their voices don't matter because of Georgia's heartbeat law. The law says once fetal cardiac activity is detected around 6 weeks, no termination, no exceptions for brain, no acknowledgement of Adriana's legal status as deceased. So her body is being medically sustained, intubated, monitored, housed in the ICU to grow a fetus with an unknown prognosis. Doctors already suspect fluid on the brain. The outcome is uncertain. This isn't just tragic, it is absolutely traumatizing. And it raises ethical and legal questions we just cannot ignore. Who decides care when the patient is legal? Why is the family's legal authority being denied? And what precedent does this set for bodily autonomy, especially for Black women? Nurses are trained to advocate. Legal consultants, such as myself, are trained to analyze the gaps. In this case, this is a massive gaping hole in law and humanity. I stand with Adriana's family, and I demand the law catch up with both medical science and compassion. Tell me, should a legally woman's body be forced to carry a pregnancy because of the law?
That is just crazy. This is such a crazy story, and I don't know. Just make me. Let me know what you think anyway, because this just make me feel some type of way. Please go down in the comment section, share your thought. Love to know what you think about this conversation down in the comment section. But as always, you guys know how to do it. We keep it very respectful. So go ahead, feel free, share your thoughts. I don't even know how I feel about this because just hearing the news and hearing like it doesn't just even make sense. A lot of people have said a lot of things I would want to even impute here, but some people saying that is incubator. There's not even this is not even incubator because even the baby, the likelihood of the baby surviving is so slim. Either the baby might not survive or the baby might even have deformed. So this is not even pro-life because the so-called pro-life that they're talking about will probably bring a disformed or a disabled child or a child that will not even survive at the long run. Why can't they just allow this woman to just go in peace? Like, why wouldn't they? And this is where, like, I a lot of time when I was covering the story of this birthright, a right to your body as a woman in the US, a lot of people are like, oh, but this is what it is. Like, this is what it is. And this is what as us as women, especially as Black women, have been speaking for a long time, talking about how if this thing goes on, we are more on the receiving end. Black women, like Black women are more going to be on the receiving end. And that's just what they're proving. Like, who, somebody that is physically dead, you said the person should bear a child. Has it occurred to you that how is that child going to survive? Okay, let's even say, okay, the child is going to make it, oh, as a healthy baby. The mother is not here anymore. Why can't they just, oh, she's dead, she's dead. And to add, to even think of it that she getting into the complication where she got brain dead was out of their own negligence, where they didn't pay her any attention when she went to the hospital that she was having a headache. Nobody pays attention to her. And the same that person that was not cared for properly when she was alive is now being cared for now that she's brain dead. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. But the one that still makes me shock in my head is the fact that the families are still going to be the one to pay the hospital bill. When I did not make that decision, I don't know how the family are going to fight this, but they didn't make the decision. They didn't decide. So how will I pay for something I didn't ask for? How will I spend my money that I work hard for something that I was not allowed to make decision for? It does not make sense. Like a lot of crazy things is happening in that US that does not make sense. You guys make it make sense at this point. It does not make sense. Why am I paying for something I did not request for? Why am I paying for a service that I did not request for? So for me, I don't even know how the family is going to survive. And I hope like the attention that this story is getting helps like people to really structure this so-called law, because it's crazy. Hands are tied here because it's a law. It's a law. So I understand hands are tied here, but come on, like it doesn't make sense. Really. And it's so disgusting that they're forcing even the trauma you're putting on her body, her family, Because if, okay, she died like 9 months, 3 months ago, they could have easily have buried her now and kind of start nursing their wound of losing her. But she's still here. She's still here. And they know at the end of the day, they're still going to bury her. Prolonging their trauma. Like, like I don't like questions. Gee, did I just do that? It's just so annoying, honestly. Like, I can't even just imagine what the family is going through, what she's going through. It doesn't make sense. She does not deserve to be treated like this. It doesn't make sense. No, please. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this. Share this video with somebody that you want to be part of the conversation, because you guys know that's what we do. So share this video. Give this video a thumbs up because it helps YouTube to push out my content for more people to see, and that'll be you supporting me and this channel. So go on and do that. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to this channel, okay? And I'll see you guys in my next video. Do see.